I like a little bit of psychology. I like a little bit of just, thinking about things. Why is this a certain way? Why do people do things a certain way? And why is this how it is? And sometimes I like to incorporate that in with these videos for RC, because I think a hobby of RC, radio controlled things, has a lot of psychology in it. But these days the whole world has a lot of psychology in it. You see, you're watching me right now, right? And you might see something. Maybe you see this buggy and think, oh, quite fancy one of them now. Didn't really think about it before, but I like the look of that. I might see where I can get one from. Decision making can be difficult for some people, but it can be easy for others. I mean, me personally, I make decisions quickly and I don't ponder over a choice. The thing is, the more similar the different choices are, the more time people take to decide what they want, when really they're quite simple. This comes into effect because there's so much choice these days with radio controlled cars. Not only have you got the choice between petrol, electric and nitro, but you've also got the choice of 64 million petrol cars, 96 million nitro cars and 472.89 billion electric cars. Probably not, but they're close to that numbers probably. So which one do you pick? And how do you know which one to pick? I mean, you go on the websites, and you go through them all and you think to yourself, blimey, there's so many. How do I know which one to pick? Well, as I said, personally, I can just make a choice. But not everyone is like that. Really, there isn't a lot of difference between them. I mean, you've got buggies like this, and you've got truggies, which are basically a buggy, slightly wider stance, bigger wheels. Not a lot difference between a buggy and a truggy other than that. A truggy is a cross between a monster truck and a buggy, hence truggy. What do you buy? How do you decide? I think the best thing to do is just see one that you like. Don't overthink it. Don't go looking at all the other ones. Just have a look at a few and think to yourself, okay, I like the design of a truggy, I want a truggy. There's all the truggies. I like that one, get it. That's that. There is no more decision making to be had. You see, people who spend a lot of time trying to make the right decision, to try and find the best of what it is they're trying to buy, usually end up being disappointed. And they're usually the type of people that are disappointed with their lives. They're not happy in their lives. They're not happy with things in general. They're usually the type of people that generally are quite miserable. Not always. Maybe you're thinking, well, I always like to try and find the best and I'm perfectly happy in my life. That's great. That doesn't go for everybody, but usually that's the case because people spend so much time vetting every option. They might literally vet every option of nitro car before they buy it. They look at all the different specifications. A lot of websites are geared up to make you fail because they've got compare this against that. Not all radio, it doesn't really go for RC cars to be fair. I haven't really seen many RC car websites with the compare function, but Curry's and PC World, for example, you can click compare and then it brings up a page where it compares each product next to each other so you can see all the different specifications. But when it comes to these things, you probably just look at each one individually, carefully vetting all the specs. Oh, what am I getting with that one? Oh, that one's got a more powerful engine, that one's got better diffs, that one's got metal spur, that one's got this, that one's got that. Trying to find the best. because you think to yourself, I've got to find the best, and you spend so much time and energy finding it. And when it turns up, you'll think to yourself, I spent all this time and it ain't what I thought it was. It's not how I thought it was going to be. And then you're disappointed. You see, I'm very rarely, and I like to use myself as an example because I am proud of me, right? And I like to think that I'm doing all right at life because I'm always happy. Now, I never really ponder over a decision. Rarely do I ponder over a decision. If it's a decision which has extremely high risks, and if I get the decision wrong, it'll have massive effect on something or another, perhaps financially or whatever it may be, on other people as well, my family for example, then I will think very carefully over it. But aside from that, general life decisions, for example, buying an RC car, never ever ponder. Literally, you just see what you like, have a look in the shop, I like that, buy it, job done, go home. Simple as that. Because you're much less likely to be disappointed because you've not spent so much time and energy making that decision. If something isn't quite how you thought it was going to be, you just kind of go, oh, it's just how it is, happy days, move on. And then of course there's always the subject of today's modern society with social media. The modern phenomenon which isn't very social at all. Now, everybody's decisions are affected by this these days, but not just directly by the advertising within the social media, but by the thing that it does to your brain. Now, I'm going to use my dear darling wife as an example, and I use her as an example because it's very close to home. Social media changes the way people think. Now, she used to be a very loving, caring, and just fairly, I was going to say go happy, but she was never very go happy, but just normal. But now she spends every waking minute on that thing, flicking through. She has to watch EastEnders, Coronation Street and all those soaps. They must be on the TV when they're on, but she'll sit there the whole time flicking through without even watching the TV. Now, complete opposite of what she was before. Quite unhappy and cold. I've noticed that with a lot of people. Now, the way that it works is, and we're relating it to making decisions and buying things, because there's so much choice within the social media thing. For example, you've got TikTok, which has a shop, of course it does. Loads of things are advertised on it itself, which you can then of course buy in the shop. People just flick through it all, and because there's so much choice, they're unable to make a decision as easily as before. When you've got a lot of choice, you might think it would be easier for you to make a decision, but it's actually more difficult. And that means that people these days, particularly younger people who never knew what it was like to have less choice and have it easier to make a decision, they're finding it really hard to make a decision. And in some cases it means they completely avoid the whole thing altogether. And now maybe you can see where I'm going with this, with radio controlled cars and the hobby of RC cars. Because the way the modern day is, there's so much choice. Companies don't sort of fixate or put all their time and energy into a few products. They make loads of products, loads of things to try and sell more things, I suppose. Which means people then have loads of choice, and in some cases just go, oh, I can't choose, I'm not going to bother. Or they spend so long trying to make a choice, they just pick one after a long time of deciding, and then when they're disappointed because it was never going to be what they thought. All that time and energy they took to pick it wasn't worth what it is. And that's not because the car itself is no good, it's just because they spent far too long trying to go through all the different options. It's not the manufacturers of radio controlled cars' fault. It's just modern days problems. I mean, of course, it goes way out there, way beyond radio controlled cars. It goes there for everything. You know, if you're buying a computer, if you're buying a mobile phone, if you're buying a real car, there's far too much choice. But you've got now, companies have grown so big that there's little competition between them. Take, for example, Amazon. Amazon have grown so big, they've taken over a massive part of the retail market, and I bet you're guilty of going to Amazon for pretty much most things that you want. I bet you're guilty of not going to a real shop and not even going to an actual local shop's website to order something for delivery. I bet that you just go on Amazon and you pay the stupid ridiculous amount each year to have an Amazon Prime membership, and you literally just go, there we go. The problem is when a company or a business or something like that gets so big and they take so much of a share of that market space, there's very little competition, which means they can, well, they run the roost, they set the prices, they set the pace. Competition is a good thing. I think that it's all going to come to a head, and I think it's all going to explode, and I think it's going to go back to how it was before. I haven't had Amazon for many years, probably 5 or 6 years, none of it at all. Stop paying the stupid price for the subscription, we just don't go nowhere near it, and I don't miss it. Going to a real shop is far more satisfying, and it's just better. We don't do any streaming music. We go down to the shop, HMV in the town, if we want some music, and buy a CD. In fact, we got a record player and we've been buying records. Yes, they do still sell records. We've got a big stack of records, new ones as well. My daughter's got, what's that artist? Is it Rita Ora? I think that's the one. She's also got Lady Gaga's one, newest album, on a record, as well as CDs. It's all going to go Pete Tong. Where does that come into RC cars, you might say? Well, I'll tell you how I think it's going to happen. It's all going electric, and it's all going all this fancy stuff. People are going to realise that there's far too much choice, and electric is not going to be the way forward. Nitro and petrol, specifically nitro, is the way forward, and it's better because you just get so much more satisfaction. Put in the comments what you think, whether you think I'm just a delusional twit, or if maybe you think I've got something, maybe you think I'm catching on to what might happen. Some of you have noticed that I have been pushing this Savage. I've been doing a lot on this Savage. I've been mentioning HPI and the new Savages a lot, and people have been saying, well, it's just the same Savage as before. It's no different. It's no good. Why have they made the same thing? Well, as I've said before, if they changed this design and made a different car and called it a Savage, it wouldn't be a Savage and it would be a complete flop. Alright, when they made the Savage, they made one of the best Nitro cars that's ever been made. One of, not the best, because there is other fantastic ones. So they're all on the same playing field, on the same bar. But this is definitely one of the better designs that they've ever made. So what they've done, by keeping that design, they've made a very good choice. Now, some of the issues with it, there are going to be issues with anything. Some people have said that, that HPI sponsored me to say good things about them. Well, I wish they did, because if they did, it wouldn't be cheap, mind you, but if they did, I certainly wouldn't be standing here in this grotty old garage. I'd be somewhere in a nice fancy workshop. But there we go. The fact that they're still making these, and other companies are still making Nitro cars, the RC10 GT thing, that's out there. It's only available in a kit, but they made it. I think they know what's going to happen. Companies like Kyosho, HPI, Losi, Hebeo, they all know that electric is just temporary. Nitro is going to come back, and it's going to come back with force, and they're ready for it. The little problems with this will probably be rectified fairly soon. I don't know whether anyone else, probably has contacted HPI with the issues, because that's how they find issues. They might do some testing, research and development and all that kind of stuff, quality control, quality testing, but sometimes issues don't arise in that short amount of time. The only way to properly test a product that you've made is to roll it out to the public, have thousands and thousands of people effectively test your product and then give you feedback. Because if you find an issue with it and you don't tell them, how do they know the issue's there to fix it for future production? They don't. So you need to tell them. I've sent them an email, haven't had a reply mind you, they probably haven't read it, but there we go. I've sent them an email to tell them about all the issues, and I strongly recommend that you do the same. The issue with the grub screw in the gearbox, which I know some of you thought that I was just ignoring you because I thought that I was better than you and I didn't rectify it. Not the case. I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to see the actual problem. I wanted it to happen to me, because I wanted it to happen to me so I could understand what was happening, so that I can try and find a remedy, a fix. It hasn't happened to me. The grub screw never fell out, but the gear change timings do change by themselves, which shouldn't happen. What was the other thing? Forget what it was now. There was another issue that somebody mentioned, but I haven't come across it, and I can't remember what it was, but put that in the comments maybe. The main thing being the gearbox. Oh, that was it. Some people say that the engine is difficult to start. Personally, I'd say that that's just the person doesn't know how to start a Nitro engine, so we can ignore that, but that might not be the case, because you might have a defective engine. Possibly. When it comes to these things, if you don't tell the manufacturers, the companies, about the issues, they're never going to know that they're there. So you need to tell them. Even if you don't email the manufacturer directly, even if you email or tell the shop that you bought it from, they might have a little bit more clout by telling the manufacturer themselves. Perhaps if a shop that they supply to says, hey, we've had some customers tell us about issues with these products, and it's not just one, there's been quite a few, then they'll look into it and rectify it for future production. You can't blame a company for making a bad product just because of a few small issues. Put in the comments, let me know what you think that I've just talked about. The psychology of modern day, the way people make decisions, the way things are, Nitro cars, the way that it all goes into the hobby of RC. I mean, like I say, I think it goes across the whole board. It's for everything. It's for televisions, it's for phones. I mean, companies are all competing for your custom, but they want your custom at the maximum cost for you, even though they say that they're there to save you money. They're not. They're just telling you that so that you buy their product. And you think you've had a good deal, but you haven't. I know, it's a complete minefield. We were all much better off 40 years ago when we had less choice. If we could have some of the modern day perks, the modern day products and things which do make life easier and are nice, but with 40 years ago's choice, which was a lot less, we'd all be better off. We're saturated with far too much choice, far too many products, far too many things, and none of us need any of it. The minimalistic lifestyle is the best, but we all find ourselves with far too much stuff. Let me know how you think about what you think about it and how you think it's affecting you and other people, because I know this isn't really a video on RC cars, but as I said, it does affect your choices with radio controls in the hobby and other people's. And the reason I'm thinking about it is because I get so many emails and PMs on Instagram and emails in the email account, and also comments about people asking me which one to pick, you know, which car to pick. There's so many to choose from, and you pick the wrong one, or this one or that one or whatever. And it just makes me think to myself, if somebody's unable to pick which one and they're asking me which one to pick, there's a problem there, because one individual person should be able to make a decision, you know, and if they can't, then there's too many things. I think it's a crazy world. But as I said, sometimes I like to bring my thoughts into these videos, because some of you can relate to them. Some of you probably think, what the hell, I've just wasted 20 minutes of my life, which is fine. There's a million other videos for you to go and watch. You'll never get that time back, but still. And some of you may be able to think to yourself, bloody hell, yeah, I think the same. I'll see you on the next one. By the way, in case some of you were wondering, I'm working still on a remedy for the gearbox. What I'm going to try and do is get a load of the correct size grub screws, because the grub screw that's in it is just a bit too small, so it just works its way out slowly, and in some cases if you leave it alone it probably will fall all the way out. It only happens with this GT6 model. It doesn't happen with the GT3 or any of the other ones. It's just this one, because obviously when they've made it, they've just made that small mistake. Hopefully HPI with enough feedback will rectify it and put a slightly bigger grub screw in, or maybe just drill a slightly smaller hole and use the same grub screws. That would be better for them. It cost them less money, but we have to buy a lot more grub screws. But from our side of things, I'm just trying to source a big bulk load of the correct size grub screws. Going to test it myself, and if it works, I'm going to roll it out. Yeah, I'm going to have a product. Not that I won't become a millionaire out of it, but listen, if it'll help you lot, and obviously help me a little bit as well, we're all in it. You know, maybe one day I'll have this massive, great big Nitro track, and I'll have a little shop in the corner, and you can come in with these savages and go, let me gearbox as a grub screw. I'll go, there you go. You never know. I'll catch you lot on the next one. Enjoy yourselves. Have a lovely time in your life, because it is brilliant. And remember, you can do anything that you want to do. You're not limited to anything. The sky is the limit, but you can go above the sky. There is space, there's the universe. You can do anything you want to do. You've just got to put your mind to it. And hopefully you'll have some people that will support you along the way. I'll see you later. All the best, you lot. Take care.